several things going on in the shop today, and they're not really directly related to any wrenching on the vehicles. Maybe one's kind of indirect, but anyway, we do have a lot of stuff going on. One of the things I got going on is my shop PC has bit the dust. I'll troubleshoot it here in a minute. Won't take a couple minutes. I already got a good idea what's going on with it. The other thing I'm trying to do is, well, there's two more things, and that is related to the Corvette. And one of them is, well, it's been mighty hot. I'm talking mighty hot. Hot enough to where I've put the shaded T-tops back on so the sun won't beat down and sunburn me so bad. But the old Dave, the young old Dave, the one that was young and bulletproof and all the other good stuff, well, he liked them tops off and then that window down. He liked the hair in, the breeze and the wind, eating bugs, getting them all in his goatee, you know, having to have his, even at one time on his Harley, he had his sunglasses on and a June bug hit right here and broke them dudes in half. That old Dave, he just carried on. He liked it. Well, he's gone. This Dave, the present Dave, he's thinking, you know what? It would be nice to have something to cool off the interior of that bit while he's out there just cruising them back roads and highways and byways. So, I'm thinking, he, me, we're thinking, I'm thinking, I guess is the best thing to say, about re-examining the air conditioning that is pretty much all together in that car. And for how long it's been out of service, who knows? But we're going to investigate that too. So stay tuned, and we're going to do some checking out, investigating, some troubleshooting, and we'll go from there. Alright, we're going to start with my old PC. This is an old Windows 7 PC that I upgraded to when Microsoft was doing that free upgrade to Windows 10. Well, I went ahead and reserved that upgrade. And one day I went to when I went to bed, I had a very good working Windows 7 machine. I woke up the next morning, I had a very poor working Windows 10 machine that Microsoft had downloaded and upgraded it overnight. And I never got it to work the same again. I just couldn't get it to work. The hardware just wasn't, even though Microsoft said that it was compatible, it was just too slow. It was slow, it took forever to boot up, it took forever to run apps. So I got tired of it, and one day I used my old Windows 7 Pro disk, and I reloaded. I wiped out the hard drive after backing it up to this little hard drive here. So I backed it up, and all the files I wanted, wiped that hard drive clean, and reloaded Windows 7. Well, it worked pretty good, except for you can no longer register Windows 7 on Microsoft's website. So what happens is it limits you in some of the operational parameters, and it pops up you may be having pirated software. But other than that, it worked pretty good. It worked 100% better than it did when it was Windows 10. So I put up with it. It's been kind of dying some, and well, this morning I come out, wouldn't boot up. First thing I thought, AC power, so I changed AC power to the power supply, no change. Went to my stash, got another power supply that plugged right in, no change. I could have sworn it was power supply, so it wasn't. So I thought, well, let's unplug the hard disk drive and see if it'll at least, if it under the assumption that it could be drawing it down, we'll unplug it and see if it'll at least try to boot up off the CD drive. It don't do that either. All right, I had some company come in, and I'm forgetting where I left off. But anyway, Power supply is good, hard drive's good. I believe the motherboard's bad, so it's trashed. What I'm gonna do, it's kind of neat the way, I mean, this last evolution of desktops, I guess, before Windows 10 and all that good stuff. But they make it real easy to get the stuff. And I'm going to remove the hard drive and keep it. And I may keep I'm going to keep the power supply, the hard drive, and probably the CD player, DVD player, and the rest of it's trash. But anyway, that's what we're doing with that. All right, this is an A6 GM air conditioning compressor, and I believe it's the stock unit that came on that 75 Corvette. Now, if you notice, I had it sitting on its nose like this. Reason being is it holds, depending upon what source you use, up to 10 to 11 ounces of oil in it for lubrication. And by sitting it on its edge, it would get lubrication down into the bearing and the gearing down in this nose end. And I've had it that way for a couple days, sitting up like that. So hopefully some of that's drained down there and lubricated it. What makes me think that this may be good is, go down here, all right. All right, here's the, you hear that? That's the bearing. That's the bearing that's bad. That's why I think they pulled it. Now let me, all right, here's the electrical connection for the clutch. Be right back. All right, you may not can see it because I've got junk everywhere. I'm gonna clean this up one of these days. But I've got my 12-volt bench power supply right here. All right. And we're going to test the clutch, which I've already done. Let's make sure we're getting 12 volts. All right. There we go. Got to make sure you connect to the power supply good. All right, we got 12 volts. All right. Real simple electrical circuit. All right. Hook a ground here. All right. Take a positive here. Now watch. See it? See, the clutch is engaged. Now I can spin the compressor. I don't feel any knocking, don't hear anything. All right. And if you put your finger back on one of these, covering one of the holes, one's the input, the other the output. Suction. So I believe I can try to reuse it. Well, it's giving me hope that it is. So anyway, we'll go over and look at the car. You probably aren't going to be able to see all of it, but here's the connector. They've tie wrapped it back. But the condenser, all the pieces that came OEM in the air conditioning unit on this is still intact. Looks like all they did is disconnected the compressor and pulled the belt off and pulled it off. Unfortunately, they didn't plug the line, so it's been open to the open world for I don't know how long. And the same for the compressor. It was sitting on the guy's bench when I bought the car from him, and it's been sitting on my bench here now for about a year too. So both the whole system has been open to the elements, and so has the compressor. I am not going to take them apart. I think I may take a vacuum cleaner and try to vacuum out a little bit. Maybe I can get something there at the very openings and then we're not gonna bolt the compressor up. I'm just gonna lay it in here and secure this connector to it, and I'm gonna see if it'll pull a vacuum. If it'll pull a vacuum, well, we may be in business. So anyway. All right, I've decided. I made a run, and I bought a pack of O-ring seals. There's a bunch of different kind in here, but it looks like at least one set are the size I need to seal right here. I am not taking this apart at this particular time. I just want to replace these seals here because they are hard and dry rotted, and they're not even coming off. They're coming up in pieces. So I doubt that they would seal anyway. See, look at that. All right. I'm positive that wasn't sealed. I'm going to clean it up. It's a lot of residue stuck down here. Let me see if I can get a better look at it. All right. You can see all that residue down there. I'm going to move you back because it's hard for me to see, and I don't want to gouge that ring out any. All right. All right. Anyway. Yep, I don't want to put any gouges in that sealing surface at all. It would be something if that thing would work, isn't it? So far, I'm going to have, right now I've got $8, and that's what those O-rings have run me. And so it's hard to do anything without sinking a little bit of money into it. But I'm not going to, now I'm going to see what my heating and air man says, if he can get his hands on some R12. Now this is a prime time for me to upgrade it to 134, and I probably will, but I've got to change. I believe I'll have to change out the oil that's in this, and it's easy enough to drain. Right here's the drain plug. Can you see that? Right here. There's the drain plug. This reservoir here is for oil, and supposedly I should be able to drain it and fill it with the correct oil, because it's a different type oil you use to go with 134A as opposed to R12. But if he can get R12, I'll run it. I understand it's made of gold though. And all right, let's see. I might clean that surface up a little bit. I even bought me, well, I'm not going to call this stuff an expenditure on this, because you always need good brake cleaner anyway. So I'm going to spray it down. Shout out to Erico. All right. about as clean as I'm gonna be able to get it. All right. And so those two O-rings, there's different sizes. So I'm picking the two thickest ones. They even stick up further. All right. All right. Hitting the truck. So there you go. All right, there's a screen in this one. So I'm gonna guess that's the suction side and that's where the pressure outside. That's a guess. All right. My brother Chuck, the HVAC expert. So what you do to me, buddy?
Not expert. All right, we put nitrogen in the system to see if it's going to hold pressure. We didn't have much, but we got 65 pounds of pressure on the high side and low side, the whole AC system. Now, if that holds an hour or 2 hours, whatever, or even tomorrow, if that holds, there's no leaks and it's ready to pull a vacuum.
Wonder if I just leave it on overnight. That'd be all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Same thing.
All right. Because before I start throwing some dollar bills at this thing, I want to make sure it's worth it. So.
Right now, its system's not stopped up. I put it all in through the high side, about half of it through the high side, left the low side closed. And you can see pressure going up on both sides.
Cool.
So that tells you it's not stopped up. I put the rest in on the low side and watch the pressure go up on both sides.
Okay.
Same thing.
All right.
Not stopped up.
Cool. Well, all right, brother. Thank you, sir.
So far, so good.
It's the next morning, and well, we got about 5 psi, which is probably empty. So it leaked overnight. My brother, he put Chuck. He put all he had was enough to put in about 65 pounds. The good news is he put when he put it in on the high side, his gauge on the high side and the low side equalized. And then he shut off the high side and put the rest in on the low side, and it climbed up. Basically, what that test told me and him was that the flow was not restricted in either direction. And it equalized at 65 psi. I said pounds, I meant psi, on both sides with the nitrogen. Well, that's all he had. He really wanted to take it up to about 100 to test it to see if it would hold that kind of pressure, because that's kind of towards the operating pressure with the Freon. But it's all he had, and it failed on the 65 pounds. So, where are we at? Well, I did some research, and I can't find anybody locally that'll rebuild one of these. And I don't want to buy a refurbished. I've heard some bad news about bad press about buying rebuild A6 compressors, and I've also read that they don't even last hardly any time at all. I don't know, maybe some of you all have had better luck. So I'm contemplating forgetting about it or trying to re-ring that thing myself. The bad thing is I don't know if it leaked through the compressor or if it leaked through some other component. Now, we did squirt some soapy water around at all the joints we could find, and we didn't find any leaks anywhere. So it kind of leads me to believe, especially considering the condition of the O-rings that I pulled off that compressor, that all the O-rings in that compressor are bad, that they're leaking bad. I already know that the bearing's bad. So what I'm looking at, should I want to accept the mission, is to try to rebuild it myself. And really, rebuilding is not a good description. You just reseal is what you basically do. Because if any mechanical part in there is gone, well, it's trash anyway, which I don't think it is. So I did some pricing, and of course I'll have to buy some special tools. If you watch my channel, you know if I find an excuse to buy a tool, well, that's a good thing to me. But the cheapest kit I can find that'll do that plus more is about 22 bucks. And that's got the tooling to remove the clutch pack and reinstall it once I put the new bearing in. So you got about 22 bucks for the special tools, an O-ring kit that would be with the green. I forgot the term for it, but with the green seals that'll work with 135A and R12. Yeah, you're looking at about 30 bucks, free shipping. So, and the tool was free shipping too. Then you got the clutch bearing itself. Then the price jumped all over the place, and basically I'm looking at a Sandtech bearing for maybe 19 bucks, or a Four Seasons bearing for about 1950, somewhere around in there. So I gotta research and see which one would be better. So and also that O-ring kit includes a new style double lip seal that goes on the front of the compressor. The old style, if you notice here, you see all this oil staining right here. It actually naturally in operation slings oil out. This double lip seal is supposed to stop that, but you need a special tool to install it, and that kit that I said for 30 bucks includes that tool. They say if you don't do it exactly right, you ruin the seal. So anyway, that's something else to think about. Total, you're looking at about 75 bucks in parts. And I don't know. We got to see. So far, I've got, me and Chuck did some trading for the nitrogen. So basically, all I've got in this right now is about 8 bucks, and that's in the seals. Now, one thing, I did some more studying. There's a pressure relief valve, the oil fill valve, and there's another valve on here that has real little O-rings that I did not replace. I may, since I didn't bolt this down, I may remove it and put those up, because that O-ring kit supposedly has the size I need. And I might try that and get him to try it again to see, see what we get. I don't know. But the old O-rings that were in the back of this thing that was exposed to the elements were hard, and they just chipped out. They didn't, they wouldn't have sealed at all. So I don't know. So that's where I'm at. Unbolt it, pull it out. That's ready to run again. So it's not like it's going to be kept down while I decide what I'm going to do with that compressor. I will seal up the system with some duct tape or something to keep the elements from going back into it. And we'll go from there. So anyway, to close this video out, my little experiment failed, but I'm not totally ready to throw the towel in just yet. I think we still can still come out for another round or two. We'll see. So anyway, we'll see. And otherwise, we're going to just carry on, enjoy cruising, maybe even get over here and get this truck started up and running some. I've been starting him up here lately just to make sure the battery stays and the gas and everything. but I'm feeling the need to take him out too. So we should get the Chevy back in some of these videos soon. So anyway, I hope everything's going good with you and yours. Everything seems to be going good here. You know, you get a little bit of sidetracked, or you come up short, you know, every now and then. But it just makes you regroup and go back at it in another way. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, and that's what we're going to try to do here. So, like I said, I hope everything's going good with you and yours. And yes, everything's going good here as far as I know. And I don't want to know any different. And if it was, I wouldn't complain, because it don't do me no good to complain anyway. Unless I got to hoot and holler and relieve some steam. So have a good one, and I hope to see you around on the next one. See you.